We're on.
Good evening. Welcome to this committee, States Committee meeting. There we go. I've got that bit. Oh, that's okay. The first item is representation from interested parties. Now, we do have an interested party. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
It's
yours.
Hi, I'm Graham Rice. I live on Birchwood Road. I just wanted to say a few words about car parking. Just to set the scene for the situation down there, there's a terrace of 6 stone cottages across the road from the Drillhall car park. None have off-street parking. Parking on the street is prohibited on the yellow lines. It would be dangerous to park there anyway. So we all use the car park opposite. In fact, when I bought my cottage there in 1999, the council basically agreed that parking was our parking space, that car park was our parking space. But in recent years, the marketplace, farmers market, and so on, it gets full. And you have to park in the middle of the road or round by the cricket green. And I just come around there just now, it's full up now. So if the Drillhall car park's full, finding somewhere else is a bit of a battle. So I'm basically asking the council to assign one parking place to each cottage. So that's 6 places in the Drillhall car park. So that people, when it is full, don't have to drive around town to park somewhere and then trudge all the way back with their shopping. I'd be happy to pay an agreed annual fee for that privilege. I had a quick look at the parking barriers this morning. They cost like 40 to 50 quid each for blocking one bay. You get a key, and it's very simple. So that's it really. I just really like to hope the committee can look on this notion with positive feelings.
Okay, excellent. Is there anything anybody would like to ask our guest?
You said there are 6, is that right? 6.
6, yes. And we're only suggesting for one parking place per cottage, however many cars there are. Just one per property.
Are they the only houses down there that might want this?
I was going to bring that up later.
Or are there others that?
The road cottages are a little bit nearer town. They all have assigned parking spaces. They have their own parking at the back. The property on the corner, where the door from the car park behind the wall, it's 91 West Street. I think they have their own parking. The Drillhall flats have their own parking.
Right. Okay.
So it's just us, just we 6.
But numbers 67 to, trying to work it out, something like 83 West Street are in a very similar situation.
Okay. Okay, for now, we'll say thank you very much, and we'll carry on with our agenda. You're welcome to stay.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
Talk about that. Okay, so the first real item is apologies for absence. Now we've not got any apologies, have we? No one. Oh no,
Just Rebecca, yeah.
Are we able to accept that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small
Yeah, that's fine. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest this evening they'd like to point out?
I might, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Know somebody that lives at one of those houses, but I'm not sure I do.
Okay.
Unless somebody used to live at one of those houses.
Okay.
And probably in relation to that, I should say that I used to live in 67 West Street, which has no street parking whatsoever. And is only probably, 150 metres.
It's not far.
Okay, well, if anything comes up,
Similar issue.
maybe when we talk about that. Minutes from the previous meeting, everybody's had a chance to look at these. Are we happy for me to sign them? And if so, we need someone to nominate.
Proposer and second.
Propose. I'll propose and then.
I'm thinking with a second, I'm just going to have a quick look again to make
Right,
sure
second.
we're
Yeah.
on.
But
So I'll sign them.
We need to vote on them.
everyone happy? Yeah, I was just going to say
We do.
happy.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
trying to
Thank
speed
you.
it
I know.
Speed of light.
Not by 6:20.
It's the 25th.
It is?
Okay. The next item is reports, and it's basically to receive our reports. I'm sure we'll talk about them, what's contained within them throughout this meeting. So, if we go on to the first of our estates, the rugby club, there is nothing from the rugby club to report. The next one is Fletton House. So we have got some stuff there. So to approve quote for improvements to lift motor room, as suggested by the engineering company who carry out regular inspections of the passenger lift. Now, they come to, the quote is £950, is that right? To protect from dust and damp. But also we've been talking to is it Highlight? Yeah, Sarah Barnwell.
Oh, about
About
signage?
signage.
Yeah.
Because Councillor Clark said about how we need to be a bit more visible. And we've got that in here, which looks very good outside. But
So I think somebody spoke to her, Sarah Barnwell, a while ago. I think
Yeah.
it might have been brought up at a full council meeting as well. So it was on her radar, but she realised that it needed chasing, because I sent her the same picture of that sign out there and said we get lots of complaints that nobody
Yeah.
knows the council
Yeah.
buildings are here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've just reminded her that we need that doing. So signage here has been dealt with, we're just waiting for
just
that. But all I need you to do regarding Fletton House tonight is approve this quote.
this quote.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Can I find the quote?
No, I didn't send it to you. It was just a 2-liner, so I thought I would just put it in the report.
So the bit in the report is the text.
Yeah. So I think I've told you before, haven't I? So we have our lift serviced regularly by a company, but there's another company, an engineering company, that are appointed by our insurers to come and make sure we're having done what needs doing. So these are a direct result of what they've said we need doing. Some of them will be instantly, you've got to get it done instantly. This isn't a get it done instantly, but it is a can you get it done by the next visit type thing.
This is just, I'm sure there's a straightforward answer to this. It's just a query. Is there, in our annual budget, do we have, I'm sure we must have room
Yeah,
for
we
things
do.
like,
I've gone past it. Fletton House. Fletton House, it's item number 7234. Fletton House covers the lift, alarm and dryers. This is this year's budget. We have gone over budget at the minute because we've had various things happening with the lift and the alarm. Not so much the lift, sorry, the alarm. And we've had some CCTV work done. However, it will be in the next financial year, and I haven't got the budget, but it will be something similar, I should imagine.
So it's 4,000 this year.
Yeah.
It'll be about.
Or you've got that on there every year.
oh,
Yeah.
About 4,000 this year.
okay, so that is, I mean, that's quite a big chunk of our 4,000, but it would appear that if it's from the engineers and
Yeah.
insurers, then it's kind of vitally important that we
Yeah.
do this.
I can't see we can't do it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm sorry for the double negative, but we can't really.
If we don't do it, do the insurers tell us off? Or they just-
I'll have to have a look on the report
Yeah.
because it's the same with obviously the play equipment. They do all of those bits first, and you'll have it's like an MOT. It's failed. You've got to sort it, and then it's an advisory. But they always like you to try and get it done before the next visit. They don't want to be repeating the same. Well, you actually haven't done this. But yeah, that's we tend to just do that, do what they tell us to do with that.
So the experts.
Okay, anybody else have that? Any thoughts?
No.
No?
Apart from my view is that we shouldn't delay these things. We should get them done, know that we've done it. So we have had the odd problem with the odd lift, haven't we, in the past?
Well, the one in the courthouse is playing up again. I've had them out
Is it?
twice now, They've had to replace parts. Funnily enough, this time it wasn't somebody wedging the doors open because I just thought it was that again. But Fraser, who's already quoted us to refurbish that lift, he said things will now, they will just start to go. So we have got to start considering well, he doesn't suggest replacing it. He says that is a mammoth because it's such a higgledy-piggledy building. And the lift shaft is goodness knows how many metres long. So he said if you actually totally took it out to replace it, that would be a huge task. Logistically, just getting it out would be huge. So he said, I think you should do a complete refurb, which is almost as good as having a new lift. So but we will have to start considering that.
We just need to find lots of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I have a proposal and a seconder for the?
I'll propose it.
Thanks. Thanks everybody in favour. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So that's Plan House done. The hub, coffee machine. So it's worked quite well, hasn't it, over the last years and years?
Yeah.
So is there any reason we would not want to carry on with what we've got in the coffee machine?
I think it seems to do the job, doesn't it? And people that want to be
Has
down here
anyone
and have
ever
coffee.
complained about not liking it or
No.
People,
it not
No.
being
The
satisfactory?
only one complaint we've had is a couple of times, and it happened to me once, where you tap to pay your £1 and then it doesn't give you the coffee. So you think it's not taking it, so you do it again, but you get billed twice. But all we've done, a lady came up the other day and Emma just gave her a £1 back. So I think it's just, I think it's a communication thing with the tap. But yeah, that's the only thing that's ever
it
happened.
has to
That's,
go all the way to Israel and back. Message.
yeah.
So it's probably getting lost.
Yeah.
Between
Big enough space.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Any particular reason for it?
That's happens to be where they.
Where it is,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Months of
Oh,
paperwork.
okay.
Yeah.
They've got more details about me than I would care to want to know. Something that is
Bizarre,
very
yeah.
But,
Okay. Do we need to approve that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, so we want Ian and then Max.
Ian and Max, okay. Fantastic.
Excellent. Okay, that's payments. Courthouse. Now, as you say, a few parts required in the lift. And then we've got maintenance to remove skirting and chimney vent in office 2 to establish waters coming down the chimney where there is significant damp. 2 damp quotes obtained so far, 3rd to follow, but further investigation was needed.
Now, the reasoning for doing this is the 2 first people that I got in that were damp proof specialists didn't lift any tiles, didn't pull any skirting board off, just did the damp reading test.
Right.
I've got another person in who pulled the rotten pieces off, identified the fact that the water seems to be flowing from the chimney when he pulled the tiles up. There's definite watermarks that seem to emanate. So I've since got Howard David have very kindly said to me, they've got a drone, that's how they do surveys now, if we ever want anything doing. So he's doing done drone pictures to see what the chimney is like and the gutters. And we think we need to do a little bit more digging to find out, rather than just having it tanked and pay somebody to take off and put back in. It could be that it's a far simpler solution to the problem. So Nobby's agreed to do that, but it's just when he's going to get time to knock through and have a look and do a bit more investigation work.
Okay.
quick question. On the floor plan.
Yep.
Because I don't know where office 2 is. There's a room marked 2
Yeah.
to the north side of the museum, to the Catholic Church side, and there's another room marked 2 on the ones that are down on the south side. Is it one of those?
Yeah.
So it's sort of
So,
above
it's ground floor. So it's dead opposite the lift.
so it's on the north side, the chat side.
Yeah, if you look at office 4 and 5 on the ground floor plan, office the one that says 1 is the foyer outside the courthouse.
Yep.
And then you've got 3, 4, 5. It's office 2. It's that little one there. You can see the big chimney breast that is in office 4 and office 2. That's where we think the water might be coming down.
Right. So that's not the roof we had repaired a few years ago.
No.
That's the other roof.
It's the other side. Yeah.
I would always say that, in my experience in old buildings with damp, it's not a matter of tanking and stuff, it's a matter of finding out where it's getting in. So the
Yeah.
man that found out where it's getting in goes up in my estimation.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well with tanking, I think, I don't know whether you all here and remember when we were looking at the crematory hall, the backstage area, because it's below ground level, I had 3, in fact, I couldn't find their numbers, otherwise I'd have had them, 3 damp specialists who said tanking doesn't always work, and especially in those kind of scenarios. And then, of course, like you say, when you find out that the water there may be a solution to the water coming in the first place that's far cheaper, then yeah, it did make me sort of question it again. So
It also often just pushes the water somewhere else.
yeah, and you'll see that when we pull the tiles up, the floor slopes away, and that's where it's coming from. It's all emanating from the chimney breast and going downhill. So it just needs a bit more exploration work rather than just getting somebody in to tank it and replaster it, which is what they suggested.
Sorry, is there someone in there at the moment?
No, this is the one, you
Is
know.
that the one who, the lady from Peterborough wanted
Yeah,
to,
the fabric lady that's just
Yeah.
come on the market. So I did say to her, look, we're possibly looking at 6 months before it's habitable. But I said we will obviously try and do it as quickly as possible.
The thing I was going to, I found out that the bottom part of the air ambulance building is tanked.
Yeah.
And I've been told you cannot attach anything to those walls.
Yeah,
So
No.
that is a big, potentially, for a
enough.
tenant or something, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, yeah, I think it's probably not great to do that. If we can get away with not doing that,
Yeah, absolutely.
fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to prove anything there?
No, it was just an
No.
update really.
Okay,
So you knew where we were.
that's great. Okay. Car parks, now. So we've got two car park items. The first is we'll do Fairline, the East Road long stay. We've had a letter again saying about Fairline basically being there all day, every day. But Councillor Clark, you have recently spoken to the head of Fairline?
I spoke to their boss, yeah, absolutely. I suppose I sort of see where the point of the complainant. But I go and check there every now and again, and there's always a couple of parking spaces available. I've talked to Laxton Junior School as well about how they use it, and they're having a think, but they don't use it as much as they have done. Fairline have got 450 people work on the site. They've got 390 car parking spaces. Lots of them come from further away. And they've rearranged their car parking now, but
Yeah.
there's nothing in the car park, which is a long stay car park, about timing limits, and there's nothing there about enforcement, and there's nothing there saying that people from Fairline can't park in there. Until we change some of those things, I suppose, it's perhaps problematical.
Do you think it is time to change those things? I mean, we've tried talking to Fairline, and admittedly they've been positive, but it's not really had much of a knock-on effect. I mean, we could potentially allocate some bays for limited parking at these key hours when people are dropping off. But then we have no way of policing it. It's got to be self-regulated.
That's the question, do we think this is a parent?
Well, her complaint is that when it comes to trying to park for dropping children off,
Right.
there's nothing. I think that's what her first one said.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that LJS on occasion, they've forgotten to unlock the gate through to the car park. And they've not had any complaints from any parents, so they weren't aware that many people are still using that
Oh, right, okay.
site. But that's, again, hearsay. You can go back and ask. It's worth us contacting her direct, and I'm happy to contact her and just have a chat with her and see what's what.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the first instance, yes, just to show that we're concerned and we explored one avenue. and just hear what they have to say.
Because in a certain number of years, it could be that the car park's not there anyhow, so. And that's
Why is that?
because our lease will run out. So
Okay.
now, if we could make it
Is this ordinance 15, we've got 15 years, is that
No,
one?
not
No,
that.
that's-
It's about 6 now,
6 years
yeah.
left. And the other problem with, if we stop Fairline parking there, for example, they're just going to park somewhere else on
Sure.
some other road.
Well,
So
I
it
think you
displaces
might
the
be
problem.
wrong there. I think they park there because it's so convenient. And it doesn't mean to say that if we did limit the parking
Mhm.
in there, okay, they might park in Ashton Road or something, but there's no limit to that anyway, so there's no yellow lines apart from along.
No, that's what I'm saying, we just displace it.
I mean, because people who complain to me are people like who work in shops and things
Yeah.
and don't necessarily come to work at 8 o'clock or whenever the fair
A lot of their shifts start at 6,
shift starts.
Yeah.
See, so I think it gets filled up
I'm sure it does.
before other
Anybody else
people
has chance. Yeah.
are coming into work in the town.
But on that basis, these guys work in the town.
Sorry,
These guys work in the town in the same way, and there's no time limit or limit saying that Fairline workers can't park there. So they're using it just the same as anyone else would. They're just in
They
there.
just happen to, they just
Yeah.
happen to be there early.
So I suspect we need to be careful saying they can't park for whatever reason, because there's 400 of them, lots of them going by lunch in the town during the day. When I went out and saw them at lunchtime, and there's loads of people walking into shops to buy lunch, etc. So they, it's the second biggest employer in town, I think.
So you said there's 400 employees, and they've got 380 spaces.
450, I think. There's not 150 yet. Cool. As I recall, I think that's right. Well, they had 380 and they just introduced this new parking scheme, which has increased it by 20 or 30, but they are rammed full of boats.
So their car park is full though, so it's not just they're doing it for ease, because I've been told and was under the impression because they don't want to battle the 605 going in and coming out, they use ours because they can just cut
But
through.
the vast majority of their employees live in Peterborough,
Corby,
Wellingborough, Kettering, they live off the 605. So actually, to come into that car park is a disincentive
Mm.
for them. I've also been told by people nearby that it's not just Fairline, but Waitrose staff who are now being told they can't park in Waitrose.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like all these things, isn't it? It's parking.
Yes,
There's too many cars and not enough spaces.
Personally, I think this is, and the next point is an issue around parking in Arundel that we probably should focus on a lot more, and we should probably, for now, if you'd be willing to speak to
If you're happy, I will contact.
Yeah.
complainant.
Yeah.
But I think going forward, I'm not sure how we do that, but there needs to be a further discussion around parking in Arundel generally, because it is.
Was
A
it
really big issue.
covered much in the transport study?
One of the suggestions was an ANPR camera on the co-op car park to enforce the 2-hour limit.
Right.
We could put one on this car park and enforce a 4-hour or 6-hour limit. We could put one on the drill hole car park. But then again, questions have been raised about what do market traders do
Yeah,
and what do residents do.
Yeah.
Because the long-term car parks in both spaces are
Yeah.
potentially residents' car parks as well. You drive around in a new build estate here and elsewhere, and there's normally too many cars, and it's not going to go away.
No.
right, exactly.
We need a large underground multi-storey car park in the marketplace. If we just get hold of a few £1 million, we'd be fine.
I went to a new one in Peterborough today.
Yeah.
I have to say it was very nice. Yes.
I think it's worth noting that certainly on any recent planning applications they've made, a condition has been that they will provide adequate car
Yeah.
parking to go with the structure
That's
that they're
true, yeah.
putting up. and I'm not sure that that's actually happened.
Well, can we find evidence of that? And do we have a
We
number?
certainly, it will be there somewhere.
But the conditions, yeah, the conditions are, and the rule of thumb is for, is it a 3-bedroom house, you've got to have 2 off-road parking, and I think it goes up, doesn't it? And a single garage is not classed as the parking space.
Yeah.
Double
So
garage.
is this houses or Fairline or both?
Well, I'm
Which
talking
houses we're
about
talking about?
Fairline particularly,
Yeah.
Fairline.
and so that I know, because I've been on planning long enough,
Mhm.
that we've always put a condition.
So it'd be interesting to see what the conditions
If
were.
they want to put more buildings up, which they have,
Mhm.
that they have to provide enough car parking to offset the amount of staff that would be increased, if you like.
Well, if we can find evidence of that, we can hold there.
It's a helpful argument.
Do we have a nice person at NNC that can quickly do a database search of?
Possibly, although they're all flat out. I can have a look. I can have a look at some of the historic records and
Trawling
see.
through the website.
But Fairline, because there was that.
David will probably remember.
When various bits happened. Yeah.
I mean, certainly the new scheme they put in place has, yeah, as I said at the time, I mentioned in my mayor's report, it's probably worth us going to see their because it's a massive concern. I've been there 2 or 3 times now, and I had no idea how big and how complex and how tight spaces they are. And the fact that they don't own some of the land means there's only so much they can do to adjust it. They look at multi-storey options and so on and so forth, but they're limited. And the danger is that if they can't meet needs here, they already take their boats out to Norwich and put them in the water there, they'll take the whole plant out.
Yeah.
Which would be bad for us, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it feels we need to be cautious.
Well, it's not that bad for us if they're all coming from other towns, as you say.
There's money coming in.
Yeah, it's money coming in, that's money in the town that,
I'll make contact with the resident and have a chat and report back.
Okay. Have I already put you in touch with her
You
or?
can give me your email, but I asked you, do you want me to contact me?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do that tonight.
but
I think, isn't it in Ashton Parish,
What's that? The actual
the
Fairline?
Fairline?
Uh,
I think it's this side of the river.
this side of
isn't
the
it?
river, isn't
Well, you
it?
talk about money coming in, I was thinking.
I think it's this side of the river.
okay, so that brings us on to the Dual Hall car park. We've heard from the gentleman this evening. What are our thoughts on this one? I'll go first and just say I personally think it's a really good idea, and I think it's the kind of thing we should be doing, and I think it would be a nice gesture and a nice kind of test, actually, in a way, to see if it worked, and 6 months down the line. If it did work, it's the kind of thing we can say, look, we have trialled this scheme, and it's effective or not. And that gives us scope when speaking to people like highways in terms of permit parking elsewhere potentially. That's my thinking. Val?
How could we do this without it being the thin end of the wedge for all the people in West Street that don't have parking, etc., etc.?
Well, that is a good question, and I think, again, like I said, I think that's part of a broader question around parking in Elmwood. But I think this could potentially, for me, could potentially be the beginning of a permit type scheme in Elmwood. Yeah. So
I hear what you
if
say,
so-
I don't totally disagree, but that's
Okay.
what you say.
anybody else?
I suppose playing devil's advocate, let's say resident 1 had a permit or a slot designated to house number 1.
Yeah.
When resident 1 leaves and sells, does that plot go with house? Are we effectively losing control of that? Is there a value now being associated with that? And linked to that, I suppose, how do we then stop someone in 20 or 30 years' time, putting their highly sought after parking space on Parkopedia or something or other and selling it on market days. I don't know, but I don't know how
Yeah,
legality of that works.
Get the point, yeah. That's a very good question. Max?
In addition to that problem, although I have great sympathy and I kind of wondered, like you, Jamie, the extent to which we need to bite a bullet at residents parking, it creates a precedent, that's the point.
Yeah, I get that.
And I mean, I know these 6 houses well, go past them, I walked past them tonight, well, actually no, I haven't. I walked them past twice today. And, you know, they're very close to the road. As you rightly say, there's no way you can physically park on either side of the road where those houses are. And obviously there's no possibility to park the car on the property itself, because there's no access to the back, etc., etc. So I totally understand where the owners of those houses are coming from. The precedent issue is that they're not alone. You know, I lived 150 yards up the road in West Street. I couldn't even physically leave a car outside of my house. It's in a lane, there's no parking. You had to, in fact, invariably I would end up parking in Jill Hall like you, sir. Or you drive round and round the Catholic Church, hoping that you might see a spot there, which I'm sure you've done as well.
Yeah, shared experience. Usually full up.
So indeed, so the question is, if you go forward with this scheme for these 6 houses, which I agree are incredibly problematic, are we creating a precedent where we have to do it for others?
I think probably are, but I don't necessarily see that.
I'm raising it, I'm just saying that.
Of course.
I'm just picking up on the suggestion that this would be a trial. And make it clear from the outset, it's a trial. It's not the first of many. We're just going to give it a go for a year, say, or whatever, and see how it works out, and then make a final decision after that.
I think that's, you know, personally.
Just on that point, if we can engage as well. How would we do a trial? Would we just put some paint on a spot and say this is house number 1? And then if someone else is parked in house number 1, do we have the power to enforce?
So you can get those lockable pillars that block up the.
So it's a trial because they don't have to be fitted and paid for.
They cost, as I said before, between 40 and 50 quid each.
And someone's got to fit.
Yeah,
So
that's
600 quid, I suppose.
you know, if it was me, I'd pay that. They should take it off the council.
Sympathetic as I am, and over the years, I've fought many a battle, one way or another, for people to get parking or to get parking sorted. There are only 1 or 2 places in Arundel where Highways actually has allowed us to let people park in the road, outside the back of the co-op being one of them.
Yes, road, yeah.
It is a problem for a town that's full of narrow streets and very old houses.
Yeah.
I'm totally, but how would a trial prove anything? What would it be to prove?
Okay, well, it would prove that a permit type, resident permit parking, look, this works in, off the top of my head, Lincoln. Now, there's a massive student, for a city of Lincoln size, which is not massive, they have a very large university student. Now, they have a permit system, parking permit system, where you pay X amount for the school year and you can park on virtually any street in Lincoln. You know, you're allowed to use this permit to park anyway because you're a resident. So I don't see how that couldn't work somewhere like here.
The problem is, as I see it, I mean, also a number of towns have residents-only parking, and also the huge areas in London which also have residents-only parking.
Yeah.
which is great. But it kind of goes back to the issue we were talking about before about East Road. If you're saying only certain people can park here, then those cars have got to go somewhere else. Or sorry, the cars that would otherwise go there would have to go somewhere else. So you solve one problem, but you effectively create another. And what worries me about the precedent is, I mean, obviously I know that end of West Street very well, but I imagine that virtually every house in North Street has no ability to park on the road nearby.
Sure.
So, I think that's probably right.
So do we create parking permits for them in East Road or whatever? Do you see what I mean? It's, and I've got great sympathy. I'm worried about how this might snowball. That's what I'm trying to.
Well, this is why I suggested you clear from the start that it's a trial, and that if it doesn't work out well, then after a year we'll just go back to the rules.
The other thing as well is it is on our land, it's not on a road, it's
Sure.
on a highway.
Yeah, I
So
know, yeah.
anything, the lady that was talking about it before, I said at least, because she said about East Road, I said, well, that would be highways,
Yeah.
that's something they would have to be
Separate.
involved in.
Yes.
This is our piece of land,
Yeah.
so the logistics of sorting it are slightly less technical, but
Yeah, I just go back to the same point that Max has made as well. It's setting a precedent, which, so I'm not sure that having a trial would solve anything, because I'm pretty certain that they would be used. It's not as if the spaces would be there and not be being used by anybody. The idea is to use them.
well, they're already being used, they
Yeah.
just want to make it a
But I mean,
official
at the
thing,
moment,
really.
they're not designated
No.
to a particular
No.
person. There's still no problem with them using the car park.
I'm kind of wondering whether there's a slightly different approach to this.
Okay.
Again, I say this as somebody who has used the Dural car park on multiple occasions and still do occasionally. It's a very good car park, very good space. But it's always struck me that it's actually not very well laid out. I don't know if you feel the same thing.
Yeah.
Some of the lines which divide the existing spaces are fairly
Pretty much gone.
pretty much gone. And also there's quite a large gap. So essentially there are 4 rows. There's one right along the wall by the street, there's one along the wall at the back where the shooting gallery of the school is, and then there's a block in the middle.
It's not shooting galleries.
Is it not? Well, whatever, the thing at the back. And then there's 2 in the middle. There's actually also a small one down the side as well. But they're quite large, particularly at the back one. The gap between is very large. And it strikes me that if one looked at that space objectively, you could probably get another row in there, almost. So you could reconfigure it and get at least another 10 spaces in.
Yeah. If I may, I wouldn't be at all surprised if you get a bit of software that will do it for you.
And that might be an alternative solution, just
Right.
great.
So I mean, it'd be a good thing anyway.
There's a bit more history here that you probably don't know about, and that
I'm
is
sure
that,
I don't know about
part of the design of the layout is to accommodate a building which is on the side of the car park,
yeah.
which we had a lot of court proceedings over and legal battles, because was actually a right of way and still is to that property. And so that is to allow that property to, it was the only way we could actually get to use the plot in the first place.
Is this
hence the
number
big gap.
95 West Street we're talking about?
That's why there's such a big gap, 'cause there's like
Absolutely.
a garage door type of thing, isn't
Absolutely.
there? Yeah.
That's historic and it's legal and it's binding and with the best will in the
Right,
world,
okay.
we can't
That's
change it.
interesting.
Because the last time we did look into having the line painting done, and get the quotes in, one of the companies took it upon themselves to give us 2 plans.
Yeah.
They showed us the plan that we'd already had, and then they showed me another plan. And to start off with, I was like, oh, that's good. They've got more parking spaces. But I don't think they took into consideration.
They didn't take that.
No.
So there's no point in considering a change of layout because it's like it is because
For that reason.
of a binding legal obligations that they have. Sorry to put a spanner in the works, but
No,
there's
well,
lots of that sort of thing in this
Yeah.
town.
Good
That
spans.
as it happens, just putting it in
history.
what it's worth, there are bits of the co-op car park, as we call it, which are not actually in the ownership of the town council. They're privately owned,
Right.
which is on that car park.
I don't know when this picture was taken, but you should have parked then. It's empty.
Yeah, she's right there. She's never know when I was supposed to be. Certainly when we've been down on our annual wander, it's normally quite empty. Isn't it?
About half empty.
Mid-afternoon in July is there, it's fine.
Okay, so what's our response here? We've got,
It's problematic.
is,
I suspect the idea of doing a trial sounds like a nice one, but apart from us saying it's a residence parking and maybe drilling a hole,
Yeah.
we would then have to be able to police who residents are. And I don't know how we do that. We'd have to enforce it as well, and I don't know how we do that without having traffic.
Do you know if all the residents have cars, all 6 car owners?
Well, there's one that's waiting for a tenant. I don't know if the tenant will have a car, but the others will have at least one. And one of them, I think, has 3. But they're still only looking for one space, one assigned space.
And then how we go about the legalities of getting a paid for permit, because we don't do that, so I don't know how we do that. And who would we ask? Highways won't be interested, will they? Because it's not their sort of thing.
No.
This isn't a solution to the problem, but I think the other thing that has exacerbated it is the, what they're called, chiropractor moving up there.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
definitely.
There's some quite dangerous parking on that corner.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that more cars haven't been bashed by
Yeah, me
buses
too.
and lorries.
Maybe bigger lorries. To do some-
Yeah. And I almost wonder whether or not we could make better use. You see how, because the cars here, sorry, we're talking about the roundabout, say round by the Holy Name of Jesus Church, where cars tend to park like this, nose to nose, nose to
Yes.
tail. I'm just curious if you could have a series of angled ones
Right.
that would get greater capacity.
The problem with that is that they have to reverse out.
Yeah.
And when they were seeing what was coming around the corner.
I agree. Yeah, it's
Who
not-
owns that land around? Jesus.
Highways,
I would
Highways.
we used to always have them angled. It's only recently that they've started to, just park taxi rank wise. So they're always angled for years and years.
Mm.
unfortunately, it
funny how things
doesn't,
change.
doesn't seem as though we've got a clear-cut answer, right? Which is very,
I mean, perhaps if I may, there's a suggestion about looking at ample parking in total, which seems like seems like a really good idea. And perhaps a trial on the Drillhall car park could be part of that greater examination of the situation and provide some information that would inform the decision making at the end of it.
It could be. The only thing is that in our little consultation we've had recently, the one thing that's very unpopular is the idea of putting parking limits on. Is that the South Road planning field?
Yes.
What a great idea that would be.
Yeah.
I have independently suggested that to some people and they've suggested it's not, they're going to happen. Due to,
Is it owned by the school?
I believe it's yes. We could raise that as an issue.
I mean, with respect, if we started charging, you couldn't suddenly have 6 slots in a car park and everybody else is having to pay for. They'd have to be included in a parking scheme, wouldn't they? So, I mean, difficult.
So just thinking off the top of my head, if we said that there were limits on the drill hole car park that residents' cars could only be parked overnight, and those without a resident sticker or something couldn't be parked overnight, would that decrease the pressure a bit, do you think?
It would be a difficult thing
It
to
will
believe,
push the problem somewhere.
apart from anything else.
That, yes.
That van is owned by the kitchen shop.
Mhm.
I'm not sure they would be called a resident,
Possibly not.
and it's always there.
And he has been asked quite a few times not to park it there all the time.
Yeah.
And we don't get a very good response from him, so.
But then how we enforce it and police it.
Mm.
But would that be a start to us thinking about such things?
I think so, yeah, but on the proviso that A, it is a trial, B, we can't police it, we don't have the.
That's what I'm doing. That's the problem, isn't it?
Sorry, I know that we're spending a lot of time on this, but it's such an important issue that has all sorts of consequences
Yeah.
for parking within the town. I think you mentioned earlier on when you kindly gave us a presentation that this is a particular problem on market day, is that correct?
Well, whenever there's some kind of event in town,
Right. It's not-
market, with farmers markets and the food fairs and that kind of thing in particular.
And is it because of the traders parking there, or just people wanting to go and use the facilities?
I can't be 100% certain on that. I think it's mostly visitors. I think the traders tend to park in the court.
No, sorry, I was just trying to think whether or not, just trying to understand the nature of the problem.
Can I ask Mr Rice who it was on the council? Can you sit back, Max?
Sorry,
Who it was who said that you?
Oh, what, back in 1999?
Yeah, because I was on the council and
I think, I
I can honestly say that was not have come from anybody with any authority.
no, it wasn't a council member. I just rang up the council office and had a chat with whoever it was that answered the phone, the deputy town clerk, whoever it was back then.
I don't know, but it wouldn't have been, that would not have been an authorised thing to say.
Well, perhaps not. I'm not putting any great weight on it.
Yeah.
It's an indication of the assumption felt by people in those
It might have been a sort of an assumption thought of, but it certainly wouldn't have been any kind of a permission. Because you can go in there anyway.
Sure, yes, yeah.
It would be interesting to talk to someone about a trial, but I have no idea who you talk to. Well, about how you can introduce regulations in car parks that work for things like this, but because it's not a highways issue, so it's a private issue. And as soon as you spoke to a private parking contractor, they'd say, use one of our machines.
I'm just worried about what a trial would prove or give, because the likelihood is it would just set off a flood of people wanting the same. All over the town, I can think of so many places where people would be, and it would be their right in their minds to request it.
Mhm.
But then at least we'd know it doesn't work. If we made sure it was classed as a trial, we
Yeah, I
could
just
say,
don't know. My
Yeah.
worry is that it's going to work anyway, isn't it? Because you're going to be putting your car in there.
But if there's a trial and it turns out that for various reasons we discussed it doesn't work, then, you know.
You mean for other
speaking
reasons?
for myself, then I'll accept that it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Personally, I think a trial type basis would be the fairest option, and also, you know, if anybody were to complain about it, we could clearly state, look, this is a trial, doesn't necessarily mean anything,
Do you want it, would it help if it was a further discussion for council?
Probably,
To
yeah. I
get
think-
more
I
of the
think-
councillors'
I think- yeah.
input.
Are we going to vote on this?
Yeah, well, it's decide next steps, yeah, so if,
Because I should vote against it, so I think we should have a proposition.
well, that, I was just saying, do you want to discuss it further with full council, so that all of the councillors have got
That would be
input?
it.
I would say it's probably worth us going forward with a specific proposal rather than
Okay.
just
Okay.
a broad conversation, because it will end up going in circles.
Okay.
So that will be for the 16th of May, we need to come up with a proposal. What the proposal will be. So do we need to come up with a proposal for our next meeting at the end of May? And then put that to the proposal for council in June? Which sounds tedious, but
Can we not make a proposal now for the next full council meeting,
again, what's going to be,
that we have a trial,
but then on what basis?
I don't know,
That's probably cover the specifics of what the trial will be.
I still think you can reconfigure the space level, irrespective of the public access to here.
Is it worth sending ourselves some homework then?
Well, I mean, it'll be in the,
yeah, maybe.
Somewhere in
worth-
the report, yeah.
yeah.
For
I
next-
seem to remember
next
it's
meeting.
a land ownership
You
situation.
come back with a redistribution.
I've not
model.
seen the documentation.
I'll come back to some sort of timing.
So David
Yeah,
Chapman
so
certainly
just to be
remember.
clear, so we're saying that there are gates on this building, is there?
There's like a garage door.
Yeah,
So that has to have.
so that has to have access.
And there are two things in there.
Yeah, I didn't know what those are.
Right, ammunition bunkers or?
Yeah, they were ammunition.
And
Explosive bunkers.
they've got doors, haven't they?
They do, which are going out, I presume.
So what is this? This is school thing, isn't it?
No, it's a private shooting club.
Oh, it's a shooting gun. So
So that's
so it is
a range of some sort.
yeah, so it is a shooting gun.
It is a
It's nothing to
shooting
do with
gun.
school there.
Is it still used as a shooting
Oh,
range?
I
I think it is. Remember when I first moved
It's
in
not
here, I
ours,
used
is
to,
it?
no,
So Jamie, have you got all the actions then?
I think our only option for now, unfortunately, is to kick this down the road a little bit, because I think we need a bit more discussion, a bit more time.
Something concrete.
Yeah, we need a concrete,
But if I come back next meeting with a concrete suggestion about a time limit of some sort.
Yeah.
Or it's not possible, if you come back with something
I'll
about
look
parking,
at move, I'll play around with
you can look up
space.
the legalities of connecting a council parking space to a property and see if there's any legal problems with that.
Is this Google Maps link?
Yeah,
So I could use that and.
we can.
Can we get a plan of the split? Well,
We have somewhere,
You
yeah.
don't need one because I can use it.
I could probably drag out the suggested one, I think I kept the suggested one as well.
In fact, you can count houses.
Sorry?
You could count houses that also don't have parking spaces and tell us that there's 1,200 of them, we've only got 5 spaces.
I mean, it's something, isn't it?
I'm sure it's quite a lot.
I mean,
Does
like I
that
say,
seem like a
I'm
slow
totally
progress?
sympathetic.
But it's
Totally
that problem of
sympathetic.
opening, because potentially, I think we put 32 spaces there, and then we lose all of them. And then there's nowhere for visitors to park, nowhere for market traders to park, and off we go. So we just need to dig a 7-storey, multi-storey underground. Problem solved.
yeah, basically, yeah. Everyone's happy.
Where we
Do what
need
they do.
is down at the wharf somewhere.
Yeah,
That is good.
and a minibus.
We did have a councillor who did a lot of research on that.
Okay, so for now, sorry we don't have an answer, but we have something going forward.
Yeah, great. You have a guarantee that we'll think about it.
I'll come along next month and make sure you have.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that's,
Thank you,
no problem, no problem. You're welcome to stay or
Yeah, I'll
up to you, yeah, okay. So the next item on the agenda is the public toilets, which we don't have anything for, so I'm just sending
No.
myself an email, so I'm trying to figure it out. Properties and open spaces. So, received pathway extension quote. 2 quotes now received for the path, the recreation ground.
They seem very high to me,
Yeah.
and I wonder whether it's worth doing at that cost. I was surprised, shall we say, by the amount it would cost. I'm also concerned that the contractor has lost a tarmac chap. I hope he's not under the tarmac.
But that's why it's more expensive than digging out.
So the 2 quotes we have are 19,500, including VAT, and the second one is
They're not
18,000.
far apart, really.
No, 18,450. Either of those, I would almost certainly assume we'd have to go to full council to
Yeah.
approve. But what do we actually think of the quote?
Would be nice if it was like that.
It would be nice if it were a lot lower. Yeah. Thoughts? That.
It's not necessary, it's
That's what I mean.
a nice idea, but it's not.
Precisely, and that's why I think
necessary.
it's, if it were an absolute requirement, I'd say we'd have to find the money. But you might disagree, Mayor, but it seems to me that we're not going to lose that much by not doing it.
Just if I can throw in, I come through the rec every morning on my way to work, and I'm amazed, even at the sunset, how many pupils are going to school through it, both to Prince William and the primary. There must be 30 or 40 that I can see in my 2-minute commute, and they're all coming through with wet shoes and muddy shoes. And I'm not saying that cost warrants that. But if we are going to say that walking is important, it strikes me that we should find a way of doing something. But that's quite a lot.
I mean, are there cheaper alternatives?
Yeah.
And tarmac, I personally think is a bit ugly anyway, and are there alternatives to create a safe, hard path? I don't know, maybe a gravel, or you see these things where they simply insert plastic kind of square things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That again means that you're not generating a lot of mud.
Just on that basis, I was walking, I dropped the minibus back at work the other day, and walking back, and they put some parts in, and I took the pictures. And they're like spongy something.
Right.
I don't know what they are, but I can ask if they were, because they'll put them in because they were cheap, I imagine. And they're not as hard wearing as tarmac, but they're not mud, they're
You mean
firm.
the sort of things that they put on the playground anyway?
Yeah, sort of like the way, yeah.
And if we could, I'd be all in favour if we could find a cheaper alternative. But what we have in front of us, I'm reluctant to agree to.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Just on that basis, I put a picture of this on slides for Thursday night, so I'll mention it and say it's a project we've talked about. If that's okay, and I'll say, if you have strong views on it, talk to councillors, but I'll say at the moment, our quotes are tens of thousands of pounds. And people might come up saying, that's mad, and someone might come up saying, I've got a deal, or whatever, and if we see if there's a general move of support for it, then we can try and find a cheaper alternative. That seems reasonable.
We could get a chain gang together
Yeah,
on.
Sounds good to me.
How did it come out exactly?
The person that spoke to me about it was walking down the path from King's Road, the extension of King's Road, whatever that's called. 50s, I can't remember this one. And they said, you know, there's a street light there, there's a path going left or right, there's this path coming here. And if it just goes straight across to the basketball court, it would just encourage people to walk straight through.
Excuse me for asking, because it's probably in the quotes and I could look it up. What's the length of this path?
111 metres.
111 metres.
111 metres.
So it's from there
Yeah.
to there.
And that's 111 metres. I think that's very expensive for 111 metres, and I think there would be cheaper options.
Sure.
A simple gravel path would
I-
be way cheaper.
Not sure, just, this is probably my mentality of growing up, so whether it's rough. So I'm just thinking a gravel path behind the back of people's houses is probably not a great idea, just because people can pick things up and throw through windows.
It's not good for prams and
Yeah,
wheelchair access. are they?
exactly, things like that.
Around.
Yeah, fair point.
But the sort of spongy
Spongy
stuff, maybe, yeah. Yeah,
Next
so-
time- Next time you're walking up there, go for a walk from Pavilion Drive down to the sports centre. It's around the cricket pitch, and it's perfectly pleasant to walk on. It's like a sponge, but
Okay, so
I'll ask someone.
can we say no to them, but
Yeah.
go back and ask about them?
Alternative,
Good.
yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, Snipe Meadow. Discuss and approve suggestions from our Snipe Meadow warden pip for various events at Snipe Meadow over the coming months. Now, we've got a nice, at least got a nice letter here. One of the things we've already done, or he's been doing, the grazing.
Mhm.
Our nesting boxes.
The Dawn Chorus one's
Dawn
already been
Chorus.
approved because obviously the time scale for it, so,
Far better,
yeah.
mammal trapping, moth morning, and our
Yeah.
box.
Thoughts on these?
Should declare an interest. I know of Barney Dilson. I know his mother, and I've talked to him briefly. Yeah, I think an owl box is a great idea. I might have to spare one if I can talk my wife into getting rid of it. That seems unlikely. But yeah, they're a great idea, and I remember the first time, we've certainly had owls down there. And the first time we had a little owl in our owl nesting box was a happy day.
Yeah.
The mammal trapping and the moth morning both seem excellent ideas.
Okay. Any other thoughts? No?
No,
Okay, so do we need a proposer for
Yeah.
these? Yeah.
So you agree?
I'll propose it.
Ian's going to propose, Max is seconding.
Thank you, all in
That's
favour?
brilliant, that's nice and easy.
Can I just interrupt, sorry?
Yeah.
Can we just check that the mammal trapping pit talks to the nature people, whatever?
Yeah,
Because I'm sure they like when the results and stuff.
Also, Snipe Meadow bench, memorial bench. So to approve a resident request to fund and place a memorial bench at Snipe Meadow.
Have we seen this before? Is this a new?
no, this is a different one. We've got the two that are being cited at
Okay,
the recreation ground.
yeah.
This
So
is
I'm
a lady.
mixing them up in my mind.
Yeah, This is a lady that had asked if she could fund and have a memorial to her parents-in-law. So I told her that she initially asked, they lived on Herne Road, so she initially asked for that green bit at the end of Herne
Yeah.
Road. I said to her, that's problematic because it doesn't belong to us. All sorts of things would be involved. So I said to her, we have got pockets of land. Potentially one of these would be okay. And she liked the idea of Snipe Meadow. And we haven't got anything there. We haven't got any benches. We'd have to be careful where we located it, obviously, because of the.
As long as the design is sympathetic, I'm
Yeah.
sure it will be.
Was she thinking at the rugby club then? Or the other-
Well, that's the driest end, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and
So
the other end We don't own the bank.
We don't own the bank, it would have to be on that section there, and obviously it wouldn't be usable. I mean, last time I walked down there was after all that rain, and unless you had it on a raised platform, it would, the steps up to it, it wouldn't be usable at certain parts of the year. So I thought just nearer, you've still got the nice view of Snipe Meadow, I can watch the wildlife and everything, so, but yeah.
Okay, have we discussed funding and who's going to pay for it?
She wants to pay for it,
Okay,
yeah, including the plaque. I said to her that we possibly would be happy to get our chaps to fit it, because we've got a maintenance team, so that's one less expense than paying a contractor.
sure.
Can we ask that it's recycled plastic?
Yeah, I'd sent her the ones that we like, and she was 100% happy with that, yeah.
Excellent, that's brilliant. Any objections, I suppose?
No, I think location is key.
Yeah.
Getting it in the right place. So maybe could we get a specific location?
I think she's happy for us to choose. I think she'd just be happy for us to approve it, and then we
Okay,
do the, sort of detail of where we think it would be best.
okay, yeah, seems nice. I'll propose that then.
Okay.
Anyone care to
Yes,
second?
I'll second it, because we just need to work out the location. But
Okay,
Everybody happy? Yeah?
Yeah.
good, excellent. Trees. Saplings off schools.
we've had a positive response from one school, Hammer Primary.
Yeah.
And I've got back from saying, how many do you want? And would you like silver birch or, and I haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll hear that soon. But
Yeah.
most of them seem to be alive. We can't have any of them, so.
Yeah, that's
That's
good, it's good. Okay, that's fine. Next workshop. Container at ABS was approved, so the full committee. Emma arranging with maintenance and stuff, so that seems fine. Now, EV charging, St Peter's Church and Jones Strong Centre, there is nothing with any of those. Markets. The market manager, is that Maureen?
Yeah, jointly with Karen, jointly managed with Karen, yeah.
Market managers and clerk to inspect the market on the 27th of April, formulate updated market rules. Letters to be sent to all trade. So this follows from what we talked about last statement, I think.
Yeah.
About how some of our traders have become a little bit aggressive maybe with their placement. Yeah, so that,
And expanding. So
Yeah.
I think Emma's going down with Morag and Karen on Thursday with the measuring wheel, and they're going to compare what is on the ground to
Right.
what is being paid for and booked, and with that in mind, sending out the regulations again, and also a lot of the traders since COVID have been just leaving their vans on site. So any new people that want to come, they're getting annoyed, but we want new traders to come.
Yeah, sure.
It's not a car park for them to conveniently park their vans. So it's just re-establishing the rules really, which was agreed last time.
also the to consider requests from regular Thursday market trader for discounted market stall for our Christmas markets. Non-catering is currently £80 a stall or pitch, though.
Yeah.
Um,
We don't usually offer discount.
yeah.
We have done very, very occasionally when we've been trying to encourage new people on the Christmas market. But our viewpoint is, especially when we compared it to the food festival costs, our costs are very low anyway. So most of the time we say no to discounts, but it's
So what's Thursday pitch? What's that?
and they're very, very cheap. They're something like £13 a week, less, I think
Wow.
£15 a week, something like that.
And a Christmas one's 80.
80 for a non-catering, 95 for a catering.
And is this a particular request or just a broad idea?
No, it's a particular request from one particular trader. But again, the precedent thing, if we do it for that trader and the others potentially could find out and say, well, they want the same kind of discount. So it's, it's one of those again.
As always, I sit with my feet in two camps. I think £80 is quite cheap. I was at a fair recently where the non-catering stalls were 150, and the catering stalls were thousands.
Really?
It was a big event, but even so, yeah, which explains why the price of food was so expensive.
Okay.
But the other hand, I think if we are going to try and say to our market traders that we value them and we encourage them, etc., to give them a chance to bite a little bit of something different and a bit richer, that might also then feed to then getting regular customer back at normal market, seems prudent. So whether we say to someone that books most of the markets, you know, a small sort of frequent flyer discount of 10% or something like that as a nod, that seemed maybe to give the right message from my point of view.
Can I ask who has the job of placating the people that haven't been given a discount?
Well, that might be that would be open to everyone.
I'm thinking about our officers because running the markets is actually quite
It
tricky.
is very tricky, yeah.
Then I was saying if everyone who's on the Thursday market was given that offer.
Oh, you mean for all the Thursday people?
Yeah, 10% off.
So we've got space down Westgate and we had space last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
So if 10 of them took it up,
That's different.
we've
Yeah.
actually got 10 extra stalls. And they might all say no,
Yeah,
but it's a
yeah.
way of saying we value you across the year. Thanks for coming. Here's a thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I
It's a
think
big
that's
thank you.
perfectly
Okay.
reasonable.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
It's a
10%.
frequent
10%.
flyer discount.
Frequent
With the word
flyer.
flyer. Frequent trader.
Yeah, it's not often fine.
Any objections to that?
No.
Okay. So, do you want to propose
I'll
that?
propose a frequent flyer discount of 10%.
Okay, I will second that. So all in favour? Excellent. Okay, that's good. Town events. Coronation, extra bunting. Ordered to replace broken ones. Installation scheduled for beginning of May.
1st of May, it's supposed to be going up,
May then.
all being well.
And food festival prep is going well.
Mm.
When is that?
17th of June. 17th, isn't it?
Okay.
June.
So-
Someday in June.
Saturday.
Sounds, I think it's
Yeah.
18th, but I don't know why I think.
Paul McCartney's birthday.
I'm not born.
Is it really? Paul McCartney's? Wow, that's some knowledge, that is, mate.
Still is.
Yeah. Yes.
17th.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Is it the 17th? Because I've been telling everybody it's the 17th.
To consider and approve requests from Creative Animals for use of the recreation ground as parking for Party in the Wolf in July.
Yeah, sorry, I should declare interest in this.
Yeah. We did this last year, is that right?
Yeah.
And
We've done this for quite a few years, but definitely last year.
What's today? It's July the 15th.
No.
No, the 8th. The 8th is the field fake, because that one's birthday.
8 plus
I saw Paul
7.
McCartney.
8 plus 7 is
15th.
15, right?
Yay.
15th
So
of July.
again, we'd need to advertise it, so I didn't get shouted at.
Okay.
That's very important.
Okay. I assume there was no issues last year.
Was it last year that we got a bit
The charge.
upset that they
issue.
charged? Yeah.
So it would be
Oh.
free parking.
Yeah.
As we're advertising the food festival, I think.
Okay.
Not in the car parks.
Are we happy
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Are we happy to accept that? Go along with that?
Yeah, I suppose the other thing I think I raised last time was this idea of charging people to use the rec. I don't know how much, and I don't really know why, it just feels like otherwise we seem to keep being asked. And it's, you know, you looked at some of the damage that the circus did to it, it's not ideal in wet weather. So whether we just need to come up with a set of rules and regs Because do we have them for the circus? Sort of, we have a charge for them.
Yeah, they pay a £250 deposit, which they lose if they obviously make a real mess. We went down and had a look, and although it didn't look great, it's all stuff that will rectify itself with mowing, and so there was no huge damage. But yeah, the rule of thumb with them anyway is it's subject to weather conditions. But the problem with the circus was when they came, the weather wasn't too bad, and then it turned bad,
Yeah.
and then they got stuck and couldn't go on to the next site.
So
So
we get revenue from them, don't we?
Yeah.
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 So,
Can I make a recommendation?
do-
Obviously saying this without having discussed it with fellow trustees on the board. But because of the way the party hall is now organised, one could very easily add, I'm making it up as I go along, as you can tell, £1 to the ticket to reserve a parking space in the rec.
Try, yeah, you might say.
And we could donate that money to the town council. It's too late to do it this year because the tickets are already out there.
Yeah.
But in future years, you could and in some respects, it would actually make the car parking job easier because essentially people are reserving it in advance. And they know that they have, if they want, the point is they're given an option to reserve a car parking space when they buy a ticket.
So that would be a
So they know
right, yeah.
automatically that's where I'm going to go and park.
That seems a good idea for the future.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think it's something we should think about overall.
Yeah,
It's just
I agree.
£10.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of £1, given the cost of the tickets, people will just say, fine, I'm going to click that and I'll reserve it. And the point is that the software allows us to count up however many spaces there are, and then we just say, that's it.
Mm,
And
so,
then I think it would then save actually some of the traffic problems of people trying to get in, possibly when there's space, etc., etc. It's just an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And also if you look at the football club, because that's that bit closer, and they've got that plastic netting in some places now.
Yeah, we could talk about that in future. We could talk to them in future and do something similar and donate the money back to them.
Sounds good.
okay, let's, first of all, we've got a proposer that is, I guess, isn't.
I don't think I should.
Yeah,
No.
for letting, Pine the Wharf. Guess, yeah.
I'll propose, provided it's well advertised to other residents. So I don't get shouted.
Can you just repeat what the proposition is?
Proposition that we consider and approve a request from Craig Vandal to use the rec for the party in the wharf on July the 15th this year. And as sort of a rider to that, we're going to look at a little bit of regulation for future use and Craig
So
Vandal
it's to allow for free parking this year.
on this.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
So the extra
People are
rider
against
comes
this
later.
unhappily when they charge and there were people who turn around and went to work again. And that
Absolutely.
gives a bad impression.
So, Councillor Clark's proposed it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to second it,
Okay.
and Val, yeah, so,
everybody happy? Yeah.
excellent. Okay, so, all right, we've got street lights, we're nothing to report, and town CCTV, nothing to report. I will add though, with the CCTV, that the person who I was speaking to at the co-op is now left the co-op. So I don't know what's going to happen going forward in terms of what we talked about having CCTV in the co-op. Because there didn't seem to be a formulated plan from them. It was more of a, can you do this, please?
Yeah, it was a sort of a bit helpless. wasn't
Yeah, it was a bit, yeah. So I'll speak to the new person and see if they're interested still or not, but for now. Max?
I know there's nothing to report, but since our friend and colleague was here, on streetlights, we did at one stage ask for the light by the car park in question to be dimmed.
Very right. To be delighted.
Has it been dimmed?
I'm not sure. I've only been there 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not sure what it was like before.
They've turned one of the lamps off, so
Okay,
it's only one lamp.
ask the question a different way. Does it need to be continued further?
Have we got fewer aircraft?
I'll consult the others in the row.
Maybe come back to us.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And on the CCTV, about a completely different matter, I actually saw Luke at the co-op this morning,
Oh, brilliant.
and he seemed to know about it.
Okay. Is that it?
On?
Is that what you just said? You know about it?
Yeah, I think he's discussing it with the regional manager.
Right. Okay.
Didn't get drawn into it because I was seeing him about an entirely
Yeah.
separate matter.
Yeah.
But he asked me about it.
Okay. Okay. Oh, he asked you about it. Okay. Fine. Okay. I'll go into business. I haven't seen him. But solve anything. Right. Okay. Brilliant. So energy. Sadlers have reformed EO.
Estates officer.
Right, fluorescent lamps are going to be banned by the government.
Yes.
They will also increase in price. So consider a survey of all buildings with a view to replacing any light of this kind identified in our buildings. Off the top of your head, Lisa, or do you know what is that a big issue for us?
I don't think we've got lots, no. But without doing a walk around, I can't think. I mean, he said you don't have to have them taken out altogether. It's just that they with them being banned, they won't be making them anymore, and the supplies that are there will increase, and it'll get more difficult and more expensive to replace them.
Right.
So I said to him, so could we, as they fail, replace them? He said you could. He said, but sometimes if you've got quite a few in one area, it might be best to just bite the bullet and do it. But until we look, count them up and do a survey as to what's going to be what, we won't know.
Would the survey cost anything?
I would have thought so, yes. However, Neil Sadler's does most of our bits and pieces. He's doing surveys, he's doing the fire alarm testing at the courthouse, so he may agree to have a look and advise.
My thinking was that there's lots and lots of LED fluorescent replacements, which are fine and great, fantastic, and save lots of money, but they're quite pricey. But also, as I found from refitting a number myself, which haven't worked, you've got to look at the ballasts, I think. And so potentially the whole unit has to be replaced. So part of me thinks, do we just wait until they fail and then replace with a new unit that's LED and don't worry about it? Because they're going to fail at some point,
Anyway,
and we're going
yeah.
to have to replace them at some point.
Yeah.
So if there is a cost, it doesn't seem worth paying to know what's going to happen.
Sooner, yeah, exactly.
Because I can't think of that many. It's a
I
few in
can't
the courthouse,
really.
maybe.
Like
I
with the
can't.
other one in the courthouse.
There's none
Courthouse.
here.
And there's
There's
none in the QVH because we had all those. No, we had all those done, didn't we? The big
Yeah.
lanterns we had replaced with
Toilets.
LEDs.
Toilets.
No, they're all
They're all round.
they're all round ones, yeah.
So I suspect it's probably not.
Fairly minimal, yeah.
Unless he's willing to just say when he's wandering around doing other jobs, sees them, lets us know.
Keeps a tally sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask him to do that. I'm sure he'd be happy to do that rather than,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Sounds sensible.
okay. And that we're going to do any other business report only now. Max.
Just two things. One is we're responsible for St Peter's Church, aren't we?
Yeah.
Are we responsible for filling the gaps between the paving stones?
Probably.
Probably, because there's some on the main road doorway from St Peter's out towards the wash.
Right.
And it's only because I go over them every morning that I think the gap's getting bigger. And I
Okay.
suspect it's stitching time saves time.
And is it like the concrete pointing are you talking about?
Yeah, it's the concrete pointing between. Some of them are about the whole gap to come out. And I'm sure they'll be okay during the summer, but when the winter comes, freeze
Get
them
bigger,
all, break,
yeah.
baddy.
I think I'm hoping that is something that obviously our maintenance guys can do.
Oh, I can do it. I'm really good at it. As long as you don't ask my wife, I'm brilliant at it. I love doing it. Give me a small bucket of concrete or cement and I'm a very happy person.
How about tarmac?
I tell you what,
Yeah.
I'd love to turn my hand the mayor's tarmac on.
Yeah.
It's a bit undulating, it's not very straight. But he had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah.
Okay, alright. Val, anything?
You said two things.
Did you?
I did, sorry, yes, I did. The tiles in the bathroom, the toilet down there.
Oh, I did tell Nobby about it, and he said yes, he will see what he can do. He suggested you can get these rather than tiling it, either clear or coloured perspex type stuff, backboarding type stuff that's waterproof. He said that might be an easier solution because then you wouldn't have the grouting and.
Yeah, I quite like grouting too. The only thing I'd say about that is that when I've tried that, if you end up screwing it or sticking it on it, you can get water behind
Water
it.
through that, yeah. But it is on his list. It's on his radar now. So,
Can we count the weeks?
pardon?
Can we count the weeks?
Well, Emma and I, we're going to do a more comprehensive job sheet list and priority sheet for them, so that we can keep bumping things up that we want to stress need doing fairly quickly. So,
Cool, thank you. That was it.
Okay, the only thing I have is, I mentioned this last estate meeting, was the clock on the
Yes.
Old Town Hall.
I forgot all about that, and then I saw it when I drove past the other day, and I was
Yeah.
like, yes, right, so right, big clock there.
But it's got our name on it. And I was walking, like lunchtime today, I went home because it's over the road, and I was looked up and it's like said about 3 o'clock.
I don't. Well, I'll have to
Well,
speak to them
yeah.
because I thought they were linked.
No,
I
that's
thought
no,
they were
that's
linked.
the thing,
So one of
that's the
them's
thing, yeah,
working
exactly,
and the
yeah.
other one's
They're
not.
not linked.
Because for years and years, well, I think when I started
It
here.
was Len Johnson that used to go up and sort them.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Because when I first started, they were out of order for a long time before it got sorted.
Yeah, okay.
Okie doke.
Right, now, I've not done this before, so I did ask for,
Okay, sorry, I missed it.
Please note that in view of special and or confidential nature of the business about to be transacted, it is advisable in the public interest that the public be temporarily excluded and they are instructed to withdraw.
That is you, sir.
Unfortunately, sorry about that.
We have to have a proposer and seconder as well.
I'll propose.
Okay, Ian.
Val's going to second.
Everyone happy? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We lose our audience online as well.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people are going to have to turn their
I
television.
think this is the first time we've had an audience.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for your
Yeah,
consideration.
yeah.